No, I can't. Okay, I will.
3, 2, 1. Let's go. I'm Chewy. I'm
Whatever.
with Mike, Damon, and Chayton. And this is No B.S. Sports. We're your all rec first team caliber players here talking some sports with you. Let the boys introduce themselves.
What's up, gentlemen? My name is Damon, aka Tony Allen, and I am a two-time Bum Squad Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm Michael. Um, I last year won crossover of the year against one of our fellow bum squad members. Took him to the ground. He slid across the court, unfortunately. But we're here to talk some sports.
And I'm Chayton. They call me Duncan. I'm a three-point specialist, and I just sit in the corner and bang out threes.
All right, man.
And I'm on the IR because I tore my ACL on a non-contact spin. And now I'm crippled.
Jeez.
All right, today, we're going to start off talking about the NFL and the new CBA and everything that, it's going to be for the new upcoming season. And we'll start off with Chayton on that. His thoughts on the CBA. Jaden, you feel like talking about the CBA?
I couldn't hear what you said. I couldn't hear you in chat.
You get started on the CBA. Yep.
I started on the CBA. I thought they made some good changes. I think they expanded the roster by, was it 2 spots or something like that? I think that gives some of those lower tier guys a chance to break into the show if they get a roster spot or even can make it off the practice squad. I really want to see how they're going to do this shortened preseason and the extended season. I think I'm wondering how players are going to respond to that throughout the year.
Yeah, I
Dave,
agree.
any thoughts? Or Mike? Yeah, take it away, Mike.
So one thing that I liked personally was for like second round picks, now they can be offered like it's all based on performance for their fourth year compared to that was only like third through seventh round. I thought that was really interesting because like second rounders, they're like, they're meant to be, something bigger than like a third through seventh round pick. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, and then I also like the no like marijuana test. Like I think that really ruined like some really good people's careers, like Josh Gordon, obviously, Ricky
Justin Blackman.
Williams, Justin Blackman.
Yes, Justin Blackman.
Yeah, there was a bunch of people that really it just ruined their careers, and they were such good talents. And then also the last thing that I really liked that they're doing is like for the expanded playoffs, they're doing first round gets paid now. In previous years, like if you had the first round bye, you didn't get paid, but now they're paying them. I think it was like 5,000 more dollars, like 40 like $3,000 for the week, even though you're not playing, compared to like 37,000.
Yeah, something that I really took out of the CBA was the minimum salaries for the rookies rising. It's going up 100,000 in this upcoming season to 710,000, and that will increase to 760 in 2021. And I feel like and it's 45,000 increases each year after that. So I think that, and as well as non-rookies, is increasing 90,000, and then another 80,000. That's another 45,000 every year. I think that will make up for that extra game in the season with no bye week.
Yeah, I think the CBA overall was good. I just thought it was very odd to see players like JJ, Aaron Rodgers, Richard Sherman, even Russell Wilson all speak up or speak out against the CBA right when they started having discussions. And then everyone was saying how good it was, but then you got these star players not approving it. But after, we see it, we don't get to see all the details, obviously, but we see, extra playoff round that's more entertaining for us as fans. It makes that first week bye a lot more difficult to get because only one team gets it for each conference, which I think, that makes the regular season race even more exciting to watch because the race is going to be even tighter, trying to get that bye week. And
Well, and it
overall,
even makes fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy.
Because now you got to play through week 17, instead of you're 18 now. You could usually just sit your guys, and if you're in the championship team in your fantasy, like they're kind of screwed if you got a bunch of guys that are sitting out. So I think they'll even make fantasy more competitive.
Yeah, I agree. And people are less likely to sit out week 17. You're not going to get pulled necessarily like if it's race for 1 and 2 since, there's no bye, for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very huge, especially when that championship round, one of your best players usually on a good team, and he's sitting out that week, and then you're screwed.
Mm.
That 18, 20 points that guy's going to get you on a normal week.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago, Chewy, me and you in that championship, Ezekiel Elliott sitting down there, kind of got you that win. So you're going to make sure that don't happen no more, okay? Because you're not taking my money.
Hey, 3-time champ, someone had to knock me off my throne eventually. So
Yeah, I don't want to hear about it, boys. I got that 0.03 points for against Chewy. So
man. He
just
beat me
bad.
by 0.03 in our fantasy league this year.
I ain't
Tough
complaining.
one,
That was a
tough
nice
one.
little paycheck.
All right, boys, let's start talking about free agency and who are some of the bigger hitters, maybe someone who missed in free agency, who we thought who underperformed. Let's start with you, Damon.
So I'm going to kind of highlight the Seahawks offseason. Some of their biggest targets were obviously Jadeveon Clowney and trying to kind of make up for the offensive line that was absolutely putrid this year. Headlined by Jermaine Ifedi. Thank God he's gone. Woo, praise Jesus himself. Oh, my God. God bless the Bears and, take them and have them. Look, I'll even give them a kiss on the cheek. See ya. But obviously, biggest target is Clowney. I actually saw news today that he's willing to take a short-term deal and try the market again next year. So I know that more than likely he's going to sign back. But I know if they aren't able to pull him, I have the feeling they'll either trade for Yannick Ngakoue, the Jacksonville Jaguars, or probably sign Everson Griffin for a year or two. But they made some very good moves signing Greg Olsen early in the offseason. They re-signed Jaron Reed. They signed some solid centers and tackles. And they're able to get Quentin Dunbar, who was for only a 5th-round pick. So I feel like that was a big steal for them. And then signed Philip Dorsett on a veterans deal. Like they spent almost little to no money this offseason. We're able to make some great pickups and didn't lose very much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like what Seattle did. They didn't spend a lot of money, but they filled some holes they had. And even Clowney said, he's willing to sign the short-term deal, and he said he's willing to accept like 13 or 14 million this year instead of 18 or 19 that he was looking for. So that'll even save Seattle more money. So even if they could trade for Ngakoue, still even if they get Clowney, because Seattle's aggressive. I mean, they want to win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. See, we got to add another one to this one right here. You see that? Yeah.
No, and I think like the Philip Dorsett, I thought that was a really good addition. Like, I mean, they got him for dirt cheap, and it's not even like he's bad. It's just they didn't fit the offense last year with he's like a deep threat, and that's not really what Tom's going to do, or Josh McDaniels. So I thought for they're paying him like 1 point something like a year. I was like that's a steal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dorsett definitely still has a good 2 or 3 years in him. He's only like 28.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if
he runs a
28.
4.4.
Yeah.
He runs a 4.4. I mean, you can't hurt that. I mean, you got DK who's out there running 4.3, and Tyler Lockett. I mean, that receiving core with Greg Olsen, and if Will Dissly stays healthy, because I mean,
man, that tight end.
That guy goes off for 3 games and he tears ACL, but those 3 games each season, he's a tight end 1 for fantasy.
Yeah. You got the young guy, Luke Wilson.
They re-signed Luke Wilson, right?
They did.
Yeah.
Great blocker.
Good old Lions had him. Then
Lions need some help. That's what they need.
Shay, what are your thoughts on free agency? You got anyone stick out this year?
So the Lions, man, they need some help, and that they got a little bit of what they needed. They did their classic Patriots pickup, and they picked up Jamie Collins freaking nature. That man is going to be a immediate impact player for the Lions, and they picked up Danny Shelton too. I think that was a potential Snacks Harrison, Phil, because he's hitting his retirement now. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to have. I think he's going to fill up some of them holes that the Lions' run defense had. But the biggest pickup for the Lions, in my opinion, was the addition of Chase Daniels, because they did not have a backup quarterback that could win against anybody at all ever. That probably cost them 5 or 6 wins this year. So at least now, if and when Stafford goes down in the next few years, at least have somebody that can come in and throw the ball a little bit. So I think those players are really good additions, and even a couple depth players. I know they're probably going to draft Okuda unless they trade down. So they got some depth corners in Trufant and McRae, but nobody that's going to replace Slay until draft day. So got some good holes, but they still got to do better in the draft for me to be like a solid win for the Lions.
I think getting the trade for Dwayne Harmon, I think that was pretty sweet to kind of fill the hole that or Dwan Harmon, my bad.
Yeah, he's a beat.
Yeah, especially since they lost Diggs. Shout out to the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think
they traded Diggs for a bag of chips too.
Ooh, man, I was happy when I saw that.
And I think with the Duron Harmon trade, he has showed in the past that he's a closer. Whenever the Patriots needed a big pick to end the game, it was always Duron Harmon, and that's something the Lions don't have. They don't have someone with a clutch factor, and I feel like that's really going to help them. I'm not a big Lions fan, but I'll admit when they make something, they make good pickups, and I thought that was a steal. I think they traded like a 6th-round pick or 7th-round pick.
I mean, I like what the Lions are doing culture-wise. They're trying to bring guys who've been to the Super Bowl. I mean, people from the Patriots organization like Harmon and Danny Shelton and Jamie Collins and Danny Amendola and Trufant played with the Falcons in the Super Bowl. I mean, they're trying to build a winning culture there. They still have a lot of holes to fill. I think right now they're number 3 in caps, so they still have money. They can sign somebody. I mean, there's not too much out there left that is really targeting them. But I mean, they got some holes to fill. But they're trying to build a good culture there. At least they're trying to show that they are.
They're in a win now mode. I know fans across Detroit are calling for Patricia and Quinn's head, and even for Martha Ford to sell the team. So I know they're trying to be we got to make the playoffs. We got to win a divisional something right now, and even if the team's trash in a couple years again, Detroit fans will be there, but they got to do something this year, maybe next if they're still around, but they got to do something quick.
Yeah.
You're good. Go.
I was just going to say, on that topic, how many years do you think Patricia has left to test the waters until they kind of move on?
If he has another 3-win season, he's gone after this one. Even if they can bring in a high school coach, honestly, they give him 3 wins. Like Lions fans are about sick and tired of seeing the Lions be this unsuccessful with a guy that's supposed to have this much potential. But if he breaks a playoff spot, even 10 wins, 9, 10 wins, well, for now 10, 11 wins because you got an extra game on there. If he can break through that barrier and even compete, not even win, but compete for the division, I think that he'll keep his job for at least another year.
Well, I also think you have to think about it like this. How long does Stafford have? I mean, you have to be in win now, in my opinion. In reality, I mean, he's the past couple seasons, he's been getting their bad injuries. So it's not like, you break your foot, you break your hand. No, he's back. That's a major issue, and they need to be in win now mode, especially if they're going to do something with Stafford. I mean, but then again, maybe they're okay with being mediocre. I mean, I don't know.
From a fan standpoint, too, I wouldn't even be opposed if they're not going to do anything, just trade Stafford to a semi-decent team. The man's done so much for the city and for the team that he deserves, at least a good parting word and then a parade or something, and then see you later. Give him something good,
The man's 32 years old.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions, they're definitely win now. You think now with the extra week, Jim Caldwell, he led, 4 or 5 seasons were winning seasons, 9+ wins all 4 years, hit 10 wins, hit the playoffs a couple times. And then you go to Patricia, who's supposed to be a defensive genius, and the defense has gotten a lot worse both years. They've just been in a big decline, and that's the thing that he was supposed to come clean up. And they're not even close to making playoff contention. And if he doesn't win, if he doesn't win 8 games this year, he should be gone.
I think it's
Because
got to be more than that 8, personally.
He's got to make the playoffs. There's no question. He's got to.
Ford won't fire him if he goes 8-9 with the 17 game, and he should, but they should make the playoffs because as a fan standpoint, Caldwell was doing a good job of keeping us, fighting for the division, making playoffs, at least trying to make some noise. And Patricia's just been downhill for 2 years when we were supposed to go on the up.
And players liked Caldwell. They don't like Matt Patricia.
Yeah, they don't like Patricia. There's saying reports of Slay, like that was the beef there of getting rid of Slay. I mean, I don't know why you're trying to go after your best player and now he wants out. It just doesn't sound smart. Sounds like Bill O'Brien trying to start stuff with Hopkins.
Yeah.
I guess those Patriot coaches have a way with trying to be like Bill, but I guess it's only run at one place.
And hey, we saw what happened with Bill and Tom. So,
Yeah.
It's a respect factor, No one respects Patricia. What has he done?
You're always under Belichick's shadow. Do something by yourself.
Yep.
Because the thing is, like, the offense beyond Matt Stafford, that offense is young, and you can tell they're hungry. You got Galladay and Kerryon Johnson's going to be coming off a big injury from last year. Even when he came back that week 16, week 17, he actually still played decent. So then you signed back Amendola. You still got Marvin Jones in there, and then you got T.J. Hawkinson. They can make moves, but they just need a consistent play on defense.
And you can't put a lot of those wins you couldn't really put on Patricia. He didn't have a healthy quarterback for, I'm going to say, 5-6 weeks out of the year consistently. He's in a quarterback.
And it was the back half of the year at that.
And it was the back half. The playoff teams were solidified, and they were hungry for getting more wins, hungry for getting their seeds. So you really can't put all of it on Patricia. But at a certain point, man, you can't get 30, 40 points put up on your head every week and expect that to be okay, no matter how many picks your quarterback gives up or fumbles or whatever. You got to, at a certain point, have some respect for your guys.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, you can't blame them for, Stafford being hurt, but you say the same thing for Mike Tomlin. After week 2, Big Ben's hurt. Steelers they were 6 in the play. Like week 15, they were 6 seed, 8-7. They had a shot to get in the playoffs. Matt Patricia, you had Stafford for about 6 games. They had Big Ben for 2, and it was a putrid season. I mean, I get it. You're a new coach, but I mean, Mike Tomlin had Ducky Hodges throwing him and Mason Rudolph in there
with James Conner out majority of the year.
With James Conner, that's the huge part of it too.
Well, and they were just trading picks back and forth. Didn't matter who was in the game. They were just throwing picks all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I think Patricia's got to be held more accountable, especially just what Mike Tomlin showed with what he had to work with. And that defense stepped up. I mean, their defense was balling. Top 10 the last 10 games of the season. So they're getting turnovers. I mean, they're turning the ball over a lot, but that defense is forcing a lot of turnovers. And that's what we need.
That's thankful to that Michigan guy that in the middle.
Yes, sir.
Hey, and the addition of Minka Fitzpatrick.
Minka's
a huge deal.
Huge deal for them.
Oh, and so going back to what you were saying, so the Lions let up 26.5 points per game last year.
That's not very good. That's probably bottom 5 in the league.
Yep. I believe that is third.
Yeah, they were bad. They had a bad defense.
Yeah, and that's why they got to step it up because Patricia's supposed to be a defensive mastermind, and that defense has been horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Mike, let's hear your free agency team that really caught your eye.
So I have like a couple that I really liked. So I'm gonna start with the Patriots, obviously fan favorite. So they re-signed Joe Thuney, who last year was I would say probably about top 5 guard in the league. He really solidified himself the past 2 years, well deserving of contract. They gave him a franchise tag, which they could still re-sign him to a longer deal, but it probably won't happen until next year because they'll have around $100 million in cap space. They re-signed both the McCourties, both, in my opinion, great deals. Um, a lot of people are saying like the Devin McCourty signing was a little too much. He's the second highest paid safety in the league. But last year he was an all-pro player. He might have got snubbed, but he played like an all-pro, especially on the best defense in the NFL. The big losses, obviously, would be Tom Brady, Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins, Dorsett. Those are huge, obviously. So in my opinion, I think they did okay. I don't think they were particularly good or particularly bad. Obviously the big loss of Brady really, I mean, it really tips the scale, but the other people can be replaced, I think. And then just one more that I really liked. I liked the Cleveland Browns. They signed Jack Conklin, which he's top 5 tackle in the game.
He was on the
And
best
then
offensive line.
Austin Hooper. I mean, he's top 4.
Him and Njoku.
Right.
Yeah, him and
Gronk
Njoku.
on, yeah, Hooper.
And then
Hooper's
they
top
got
4.
Kareem Hunt for a minimum.
That was the one I liked.
Kareem
That was a huge sign for them. Was Kareem Hunt.
He's great. He's great for Nick Chubb because Nick Chubb he'll run right down your throat, and then Kareem Hunt come in and give you some speed. I think that's a great duo they got over there.
I'm gonna go off.
One more team before you go in there, because I just feel like I almost forgot about them, but the Ravens.
Oh yeah,
the Ravens man,
had a very good offseason.
They've grabbing Calais Campbell, re-signing Jimmy Smith, and then getting freaking Derek Wolfe. Man, that defense is getting scarier and scarier every day.
And Michael Judon.
Yeah, and Michael Judon.
I feel like you got to throw some respect on the Chiefs then, signing 10 out of 11 of that Super Bowl winning offense or Super Bowl almost winning offense. I mean, that's a good huge win off season for them to have everybody returning off of that powerhouse offense.
I agree.
Yeah, they're able to keep the offense, and they were able to bring back Chris Jones, who was the best player outside of Tyrann Mathieu on that defense, and he was disrupted almost every play. He's been an animal the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go off, Mike, what you're saying about the Browns, and they also signed Carl Joseph, former first-round pick for the Raiders a couple years ago, to help that defense out. And, I mean, the Browns, Freddie Kitchens wasn't the guy last year. I mean, we all know Baker's got talent. They got Odell. They got these 2 tight ends. They got Jarvis Landry. They're getting some protection for him, Conklin. They can make some moves in the draft some more linemen. I think the Browns – I think it might work this year. No Super Bowl because that's what everyone was saying last year. But I can see him winning 10, 11 games. Baker Mayfield having a lot better year than he had last year. And the Browns could definitely make some moves. New England is definitely tough. They lost a lot. The defense is still deep. But I think they need to address the interior and defensive line more. They're solid at linebacker, even losing Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins. You got the kid they drafted for Purdue, Bentley. He was a baller his rookie year, and then this year he didn't play a lot because they had all those other linebackers in there, bunch of studs. And I mean, you lose Harmon, you still got the McCourties, Gilmore, the best corner in football, Bill Belichick. I mean, the Patriots are still going to be in the hunt. Josh McDaniels. They just got to address the offense in the draft.
Well, and then you have J.C. Jackson. He led the league in passer rating.
Yeah, and him and Jones took a really short or not that big of a deal. I think last year during the season he signed an extension, and we got him for a very good hometown discount with Jones. And those 3 corners, they can run with anybody. I mean, they can shut down the Chiefs. I mean, they've showed it twice. AFC Championship and the game in New England this past year. They can slow down Kansas City. A team that I want to hit on was the Chargers. I really like what the Chargers did. They got Hunter Henry back, which can be huge for whoever they get at quarterback, whether that be maybe getting Cam Newton or drafting Oregon's what's his name?
Justin Herbert.
Herbert. They get Herbert there. I mean, defense, you sign Chris Harris, Linval Joseph, get a few veterans in there, along with the pass rushers they have in Ingram and Bosa. I mean, Linval just fills up the middle. And then they signed a Bulaga, I thought was huge. And that's a big loss for the Packers because Aaron Rodgers has always had good protection. Now he loses one of those tackles. And the Chargers were in desperate need of an offensive tackle, and they got that with Bulaga, who's, I think, probably top 3 tackle in the game right now.
Yeah, that's not even just one of Rodgers' tackles. That's his tackle. That is, Bulaga has been a staple up in that Packers offense for many years. So I think that's a huge loss for the Packers, and that honestly opens up the NFC North for someone to take over. Because you lose a standing piece of your offensive line, you're really going to struggle this year on offensive end.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's interesting with the NFC North being open, and we all saw what the Bears defense did 2 years ago. They're phenomenal. You get Nicky Foles in there, and maybe he has that little Philly magic in Chicago. They can win 12 games. That defense can carry them to the NFC Championship, give them a shot to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, that defense was electric, and I think last year they were playing good, and then with all the Mitch drama, it just seemed like the players weren't into it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Nick Foles will bring back that energy because that's just the kind of guy he is. I mean, he's the one who beat those Bears off the goalpost kick, Pinheiro,
Eddie Pinheiro.
Nicky Foles beat the Bears, and they probably would have went to the NFC Championship game and if Alshon Jeffrey doesn't drop a ball.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Foles, I think, was a great sign. That's a lot of money, so it better pay off. It didn't pay off for the Jags, but it better pay off for the Bears because they're winning now.
Yeah, I agree. Their defense is too good.
Thanks.
There's one more team I want to mention unless anyone else had something else.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think the Bills had a really good offseason actually. They retained all their offensive linemen, and they were a pretty good line last year. They weren't elite, but they were a good offensive line, especially for Josh Allen since he can move around. So it's not necessary to have
the best of the line.
And then they also signed a whole bunch of defensive players. One I want to key in on is Josh Norman. I don't think Josh Norman's super good as a cornerback one, but you put him across from stud in Tre'Davious White. I think that's a steal. That they have Tre'Davious White, they have Micah Hyde, now Josh Norman. Who's their other safety? I can't remember.
Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, Poyer. He's a beast. I mean.
And what's the linebacker, Tremaine Edmonds? I mean, man in the middle. He's 23 years old, and he's a top 5 linebacker in the league. The guy's an animal.
Yeah, and then they traded for Diggs. I mean, that's all they needed last year was just one stellar receiver outside of John Brown, and they got him in Stephon Diggs. And they didn't give up much for him either.
And, yeah, that was huge because, I mean, I think the Bills have a very good shot at winning the division this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they won 10 games last year, and, I mean, Josh Allen definitely took a big step up. His accuracy still needs to improve, but I think part of that goes to the lack of receivers he's had. And you throw Stephon Diggs in there, I think we're going to see a lot better Josh Allen when you have a Pro Bowl receiver, throwing the ball to instead of John Brown and tell me another receiver, Isaiah McKenzie and Cole Beasley. Come on. You give him Stephon Diggs and Dawson Knox, he was shining a little bit at tight end.
I can see him having a breakout year this upcoming year.
Yeah, I could definitely see him having a George Kittle type year, just elite.
Well, and then Devin Singletary, he got hurt with the hamstring early on, but when he was playing, he was good. So that's going to help too. His second year, I don't know. And then Josh Allen, after the first 6 games, he had 10 turnovers, some of that. After that, he only turned the ball over twice.
Yeah.
And
Josh Allen really cleaned up.
10 games. He only turned the ball over twice.
He's got a cannon.
Oh,
absolute cannon.
Mm-hmm. He's a beast.
Yeah, that's why I like Diggs and Brown because Brown run deep threat. He's a deep threat, and Diggs can run them deep routes too, and that's perfect for Josh Allen because that dude probably can throw it as far as anyone else in the league.
Yeah, I agree.
He can open it up. I think the Bills are going to be very scary next year. Bills Mafia. It's cold up in Buffalo when it hits January.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the Bills are 0-4 in the Super Bowl, but I mean, you never know. The Patriots down, the Jets down. Maybe
Dolphins
the
are
Bills take a
rebuilding.
lead. Dolphins are rebuilding. Maybe Buffalo
Dolphins
tries
are
to
a
make that
problem.
jump.
Shane, do you have anything any other teams to mention?
No, I just want to say that highlight the importance of bringing back all of your offensive linemen, especially with a younger quarterback like that. Now he feels like he has some safety back there, and he can just do whatever he needs to do in the pocket. I think Josh Allen, his development is almost underrated in the NFL, and I think if he takes another step forward this year, that Bills team is going to be a hard out for many teams in the league, regardless of how good your defense is. It's going to be a hard out.
I agree.
I mean, they almost won a playoff game this year. They blew a 16-0 lead, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
That was a great game, by the way.
And they only lost by like a couple
lost by a
points.
field goal.
Yeah, they lost by a field goal in OT.
And they missed a field goal, I believe.
And yeah, I mean Buffalo, they're right there. And I mean Hoshka's a good kicker. I mean a lot of teams have issues with kicker. I mean look at New England with Gostowski hurt. Their kicking struggles were horrible. It definitely cost them a game or two. Maybe against Kansas City, a couple times to the 45, you got to go for it or punt because Gostowski couldn't drill that 53-yarder or 52-yarder. But, Hauschka can bring that for Buffalo, and you need some clutch kicking in the playoffs. I mean, he wasn't clutch against Houston, but, he's won a Super Bowl in Seattle. He's got experience. Buffalo's going to be – and Sean McDermott's a very good coach.
Yeah,
and their defenses are always top 10. And you add Norman, and although they're very young, Buffalo they're a sleeper team this year, I think. I don't think a lot of people recognize how good they are.
Well, and the thing is, so let's say we take, last year, for example, the favorite in the AFC would have been, at the end of the season would have been, Baltimore, and they shut down their run game. When they played, if Jared Allen or Josh Allen doesn't fumble the ball inside their own 10, I think they win that game. So I think with that elite run defense they have, and then now an elite pass defense, in my opinion, I think they're going to be a very good team.
I'm going to touch on someone who I think underperformed in free agency this year. I think that was Indianapolis Colts because they came in with a top, I think, 3 cap room to people to sign, and they were signing Costanzo, tackle, which was a huge sign. But you signed Phillip Rivers, a 1-year deal, a lot of money. I don't think he's got much left in the tank. I think by week 4 or 5, Rivers is benched and Brissett's back in, leading the Colts, and he's going to get them fighting for a wild card spot. And you signed Xavier Rhodes, who last year did not look good at all. He was getting burnt. He looked like he put on some weight. I mean, maybe he loses a few pounds. Maybe he goes back to a little bit of himself. But they had a lot of cap. I think they're still top 3 in cap. They just haven't made any moves. They had a lot of money last year. They didn't spend a lot. I mean, they better hit hard in the draft, get some good some sleepers, because I just feel like they have potential there with that offensive line and their defense on the rise, and I don't think they're making enough moves to make that a step for a Super Bowl run.
Well, but they did trade for DeForest Buckner, so that was one thing I did really like from them.
I like Buckner, but I just feel like they still could have made a bigger move. With Buckner.
I think if you're going to go after a quarterback, I wouldn't go after Rivers because you just know what you're going to expect from him, and it's mediocre at best. He's always been a mediocre quarterback. He's not bad. He's not good. He's consistently average. If you're going to go after a quarterback, you wait for Cam Newton. You wait for a guy that's going to give you a high value. But I think Jacoby Brissett's a fine quarterback. He's a little raw still. He's got to develop his talents. He's got to be confident in his run game, but confident also sit in the pocket behind that fantastic Colts O-line. But I think if they can work with Jacoby a little bit, he could become a top 10 quarterback, top 8 quarterback in the league. They just got to work with them a little bit because I think he was too inconsistent, especially against good defenses. He kind of folded quickly. So I think if they can work with them a little bit, they don't even need Rivers anymore. But I thought that was the dumbest move of the offseason.
Well,
You're throwing this man into the fire. Phillip Rivers threw freaking like 9. He turned the ball over like 9 times in like 4 games. So I'm like, but you have this consistent, like you said, he's raw. Brissett, he has time. If he can just develop, really, obviously now with all this going on, but if he could have developed this offseason and really like worked, I think he could have easily just ran this team from at least until the near future.
what I wanted to talk about was like with the Colts is I think personally, I think the quarterback decision was pretty bad. So they signed him to a 1-year, $25 million deal. I
25
think
A lot of
million.
money. Yeah, a lot of money. They
so.
signed him.
I think you could have got Jameis Winston, who is a better version of Philip Rivers, a younger version of Philip Rivers. Like literally, you could almost say they're the same person except younger
Yes.
and has more talent. For probably like 10, 1 year 10.
Probably
I don't
15.
I don't think Winston
Probably
would
like
take 10
18.
personally.
I think like
Yeah.
18.
Well,
But
you get what I'm saying. Either way, like half the price.
I think you get, a discount on Jameis because he's just trying to get a job.
Exactly.
And Rivers is washed up.
Yep. And so if you sign him, he would be great for T.Y. Hilton because, man, T.Y. Hilton can burn any corner. And, man, you give Jameis Winston someone like that, like he had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I like that. I don't know. I think they really flopped on the quarterback. I agree with you guys.
Yeah, I really want to see Brissett go into a year, like with the whole offseason, because Andrew Luck was getting the first team reps, and then he decided to retire. Was it like 2 weeks before the season started?
Yeah.
And then Brissett's just thrown in. I want to see a full offseason of Jacoby Brissett with the teammates, running with the ones, getting all the reps in the offseason, which is going to suck now because, they're going to miss, OTAs or, who knows how long COVID's going to go on. You don't get to build that offseason. But it'd been nice to see Brissett build those reps and see what he would have done this year with the whole offseason as a starter in Indianapolis.
Also, T.Y. Hilton was hurt too most of the season.
Ty. And the Colts were 6-4, and then Jacoby Brissett got hurt for a couple games.
Yeah.
And they slipped a little bit. They're like 6-6, 7-7. Brissett came back and, probably rushed back because he wanted to get in the playoffs. They didn't end up making the playoffs.
They had a hard back end of their
I was
season.
about
If I
to
remember,
say.
they had to play the Saints and a couple other guys. And
Some
the
tough
Saints,
road games.
shout out the Saints for helping me win that playoff game against Chewy. But I said they had to play a couple different guys, which is a couple good teams, which is tough, especially if you're coming off an injury.
Because they didn't have because Funches got put on IR early in the season, and so they just had Pascal.
Yeah. Zach Pascal and Ty was on and off hurt.
He was on and
He
off.
was actually hurt for like 5 or 6 weeks.
And then he played one drive, and then he left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out Andrew Luck because he was the first step on the very big downhill spin of my fantasy football team.
Yeah, dude, that hurt a lot of people.
Moving away from free agency, though, what are y'all's thoughts on this draft that's coming up? I know they just announced it's online, but regardless, and what are your teams? What are you thinking? We can start with Chewy. You can lead us off if you want to start with your team.
A team that I'm really interested in what they're going to do in the draft, and I think they can make some big moves, is the Washington Redskins. They're making some small moves in the offseason. They signed Sheriff back a guard, Kyle Fuller, Sean Davis, so they're trying to Ron Rivera that defense up. There's been some reports that Dwayne Haskins might not be the guy. They're talking about how, their options are open at number 2, which makes you think they might take a quarterback, or maybe they're baiting Miami to trade up to 2, and they can drop back to 5 and pick up either Chase Young, Simmons, Okudah, the best available defense player, because I think Ron Rivera wants a defense player. But I would not be surprised if the Redskins made a move to get maybe Tua at number 2, because you could start Alex Smith this year. You can try to trade Dwayne Haskins, and, you let Tua have a redshirt year in Washington. I mean, people have been talking about that, but that is I think a possibility. Ron Rivera likes a mobile quarterback. Dwayne Haskins isn't that mobile. He can move. But, I mean, if you look at the Ohio State quarterbacks, he's definitely the least mobile. And, Tua he can move a little bit better. I could see that being huge. I mean, the Redskins got 7 draft picks. They got a third, 2 fourths. They could get some good depth players, some good maybe role players on the defensive side. I think they need a tackle. I think they can maybe snag one in the 3rd round. But I'm really interested in the Redskins because I think they can make some noise because you never know with the NFC East. I mean, that division, 8-8 can win it. So
Yeah.
you never know. The Redskins can make some moves with this draft.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Because obviously, Dwayne Haskins isn't Ron Rivera's quarterback, so that's usually the issue that it comes down to. Like with new coaches is, if he's not your quarterback, you don't want to be stuck with him.
Like, who you want to pick up with your team?
Oh yeah. So so for the Patriots, people that I would like to see them draft at 23 would be so first. I think they need a wide receiver. Um, their wide receiving core is pretty. It's at the bottom of the league in my opinion. Um, they don't really have much to show. N'Keal Harry, I can't really blame him. He barely got to practice during the off season, and then obviously Brady not being there because he's spending time with his family. That doesn't help. And then obviously he missed half the season, so that I can't blame him for that. But even if he comes alive this year, you got Julian Edelman. He's every year he's dominant. He does this. He gets the same thing out of him every year. But I would like to see him get somebody. The people that I would like would probably be I like Ruggs a lot, Henry Ruggs. I like the speed that he brings. That's something New England doesn't have. And now that Brady's gone, they have a new younger arm, which they can throw the deep ball a little bit more. I'd like to see Ruggs. He probably won't be there, but I like Ruggs a lot. I also like Lamb from LSU, or yeah from LSU. No,
Oklahoma.
No, he's Oklahoma.
Jefferson, Justin Jefferson.
Oh, Jefferson. Yep.
Justin Jefferson. I like him a lot. I feel like he's a good like mix. He's got speed. He's bigger. He can go up for the ball. He can run routes. I really like him a lot too. But if we're going to the defense, which I think that's actually what the Patriots will end up drafting. I like McKinney from Alabama, the safety. I think he's really good. He would fit the Patriots scheme. He can play in the box. He can play over top, and especially with the Patriots safeties getting old, and Patrick Chung being a possible cut this offseason, I feel like he could replace and step into the starting spot right away. A sleeper pick that I really like is Zach Bond from Wisconsin. I like his pass rushing abilities, and he's like sneaky athletic. He's not like a 4.4 guy. I think he ran a 4.6, but that's still pretty fast for a linebacker. A little bit on the smaller side, but that's something that Belichick will take advantage of in his scheme. So I would really like him as well. He's a great pass rusher. I think he had like almost 20 tackles for loss last year. He had like 12 and a half sacks. Like he was a beast last year. Um, those would be the people that I say the Patriots should target. As I said, more than likely it'll probably be defense if it's up to Belichick. But the offense could definitely use a wide receiver.
Yeah, the thing you can always count on with New England, outside of drafting receivers, they hit on almost every pick. Um, we still don't know what they got in Stidham. I mean, this guy was, I think, the number 1 or number 2 overall recruit out of high school for quarterback. And, I mean, they're talking about him getting drafted 3rd or 4th round after his junior year. He had a very good year, beat Alabama. Stidham, he was very good. And then his senior year, he didn't perform like he should, like compared to his junior year. So his draft stock went down. And, New England took a chance on him. We'll see if that's their guy going in this year. But if it's Belichick, I think McKinney would be a great fit. I think he's Devin McCourty, that's bigger, a little stronger, especially with Harmon going and Chung, like you said, being a possible cut. I think that would be the easy pick for Belichick, but I would like to see them draft offenses, as you said.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if
Dave,
we're gonna, I said we could stay in the AFC East if you wanted. I could do Miami.
Yeah, go to Miami.
So I said if you look at Miami, they got 14 picks. I don't see them making 14 picks. I see them making probably closer to 9 or 10. I feel them drafting around. My hot take in the NFL is I feel like if Miami's really going to do something, they got to see what the Bengals want for Joe Burrow. I think if you can draft Joe Burrow as a Miami, your team is going to be something special. I think because that's a generational talent. I've heard the word thrown around. I think that guy could really turn the whole franchise around. I'm not hating on Fitzmagic, but he ain't Joe Burrow. And he's going to cost a lot. So if you don't draft Joe Burrow, I think you keep your original picks then in the first round, and you go after. You got to fix up that offensive line. It's a huge hole for them right now. I like Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa, solid offensive lineman, tackle, which I really like, and he's very fast, very athletic, very strong. He can get hands off of him and put him right back on a guy. I think he's going to be a very good NFL prospect. He's already had to block guys like Chase Young and things like coming out of the Big Ten, so he's proven himself. And then I think you got to go after. I think you have to go after a running back to replace that Kenyon Drake hole that you have. I think J.K. Dobbins is a good fit for that. I could even see Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin going to fit with that. I think those two guys are your best running back talents coming out of the draft. And I think that Taylor would be the better fit just because I think he has the best vision out of any running back that's come out of college in a long time. So I think that would be someone I would try to fill the Kenyon Drake hole. And your third pick in the first round is I would get Xavier McKinney as well out of Alabama. I think that he does a lot of things. And I think if you're Miami, you need players that are going to be versatile, which is why you pick up, like J.K. Dobbins, a versatile running back, versatile offensive lineman. But McKinney can play in the box, out of the box, guard a slot, guard a tight end. Very versatile, very sticky, gets a lot. He got and he hits hard too. He was leading the nation or close to the nation in forced fumbles. That could be a very good defensive pick for Miami if they don't go with Joe Burrow. Because I think Joe Burrow, if you have to trade for him, you're going to take 2 or 3 of those first-round picks to get him. So I think if they don't, those are my picks that I would grab for Miami.
So what you're saying is if they don't trade out for Joe Burrow, they're going to probably go guard, running back, McKinney, no quarterback this year. Wait for next year, maybe try to get Trevor Lawrence. Is that what you're saying?
Here's the only thing. I think the only quarterback that is going to go before their second-round pick is going to be Tua and maybe Herbert. I'm not a Tua fan. I think his hip. I watched some tape that they put out on Twitter today. I think his hip's still bugging him. I don't think he's going to be 100% come season. I think if he has to be 100% by season, he's going to get hurt again. And I think that he's just not a person I would draft with a first-round pick. I would wait for a quarterback and see what happens. And they don't and Fitzmagic's if they can keep him, he's a fine quarterback for a couple more years. Maybe they can grab somebody else coming out. I don't know who the best quarterbacks are in college right now, but I think they could grab somebody that's just going to be an average dude for a few years and see what happens. But I think if you can't get Joe Burrow, there's a steep fall off in quarterback talent. So I don't know. I'd take more talent than average quarterback.
What do you think about Love with their last pick?
What do you think about Love?
Yeah.
From Utah State, quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, I was looking at him. I think he's all right. I think if I would go and fix a different hole if you're going to draft that late, and I would wait to see who's left. Because I even think, like we were talking about earlier, Jalen Hurts could even fill a spot like that, and he's going to be around for a few rounds. If you're going to go somebody off with Joe Burrow, I would go with somebody like a Jalen Hurts or somebody like that, just because I don't think that a quarterback's a huge need for him, but I don't think if you're not going to fill it with somebody like a good quality, you don't want to fill it with just average unless it's a later pick.
I agree with that.
I guess it's who Miami sees as a generational talent. Like you're saying, you don't want to – if you don't think Tua is your guy, you're not going to draft him. If you think Joe Burrow is your guy to be your quarterback for 12 years, 10, 12 years, that's the guy you try to get. And if not, maybe you try to get somebody next year or a Jalen Hurts to fill in. I mean, maybe instead of running back first round, they get a CD Lamb,
Yeah.
I can see that too. That's who I was thinking. If they
and
don't
maybe you
get
get a Jalen Hurts in the third round. You get the connection. Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki. They could still draft maybe Clyde Allaire from LSU. They're thinking he's a second to fourth, somewhere in that range. I mean, that he's a versatile running back. I mean, he had over 2,000 total yards. I mean, he could catch, he can run.
He's
He's a little
strong too. That's why I
smaller.
like him. He's strong though.
Yeah. I mean, they're a very interesting spot with all those picks. And, I mean, I think Brian Flores showed last year how good of a coach he is with that roster that he had on the field.
They won't draft all 14 of them. I promise you that.
No.
They'll probably pick 10. I would think maybe
Yeah.
8. But what they do with those 8 picks will be really good.
Well,
Yeah.
and what I like, so let's say they do take what's their last pick? Do you know the number in the first round?
26 in the first round.
26, yeah.
If McKinney falls to 26, they'll have McKinney, Byron Jones, and Xavier Howard. That would be something.
Man,
That would be quite a back four.
I
And they got
forgot
like
about Byron
Rashad Jones already back there, a veteran
Mhm.
who's proven that he can play. I mean,
that'd be nasty.
back four. I mean, you got Kyle Van Noy, the guy from Ohio State. What's his name? Baker? Is that he from Ohio State? Baker? Jerome Baker?
Jerome Baker.
I think he's from.
Yeah.
No. I'm thinking of the
McMillan.
McMillan.
Yeah,
McMillan.
Raekwon
I mean,
McMillan.
they got some young linebackers with Kyle Van Noy. I mean, Miami.
They'll get Belichick some fits up there in the East too. You got to play that back four twice a year.
Yep.
Mhm.
Especially with the unproven quarterback and the receiving core they have right now. I mean, it's going to be big problems for like a New England.
Yeah, they got to see them twice and the Bills twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be good views for them.
Josh Allen won't even have a fun time with that back four. I mean, that'd be a huge. That'd be one of the best back four in the league almost. Besides, I feel like you could argue that New England has a good back four, but
Yeah, that division might have the best
I
back
want to see
four.
that whole division.
That whole division, the secondaries are pretty solid.
Defense
I
is
mean, the
not.
Jets aren't the best, but I mean, their front seven's good, and you got Jamal Adams in the back end. I mean, yeah, the AFC's got some good defenses. Damon, who are you looking at this year in the draft?
So I also was looking at Seattle for this draft as well. They're more than likely looking for an edge rusher, whether they get Clowney or not. Edge rusher, and then they're also looking for like offensive tackles and offensive tackles and centers, and then they need an offensive or outside linebacker. And I think their first round they go with Jaeger Gross-Matos from
Penn State, right?
Yep, edge rusher from Penn State. 2019 season, 40 tackles, 9.5 sacks, 6 QB hurries. He's got great speed off the edge. His strength can be questionable. Hands are kind of iffy, but I mean, he'd be in the right place to develop, especially with Ziggy Ansah being very shaky and kind of injury prone last year. I think that would be a great addition for them. Because look, he had 111 career tackles, 19 career sacks in 3 seasons. So I think that's who they go. They have a lot of mid-round picks per usual. Seattle loves getting them in between the 6 and 4. They'll probably draft back a lot, similar to what they did last year. And even with like trading back, they still got steals like DK Metcalf in was that second round?
Griffin.
Griffin.
Late pick.
Yeah, so they can do some damage. Yeah, and I could even see them really late taking a running back just because Carson and Penny's kind of situation, they may not be ready to go week 1. So I could definitely see them doing that as well.
Yeah, Seattle always drafts well. They've been, fairly conservative in the draft, like since Pete Carroll's been there. They haven't been too aggressive. Last year it was LJ Coulier from TCU they drafted.
Yep.
He hasn't really worked out. Maybe he bounces back.
Who was the other guy they got? They got him. He was their first safety.
Line for sure.
Yeah.
They draft a lot of technically sound players, which is what I like out of Pete Carroll. They're not usually intangibly good. Like they're not breakout speed. I mean, besides Metcalf, he's a crafted bodybuilder, sculpted thing. But besides him, like they don't really get anybody that is crazy fast, crazy strong. They're usually just really technically good at what they are, and I think that's what helps them out. And even like Russell Wilson wasn't a great quarter. Not great, he wasn't a like crazy tall or fast quarterback, but he's technically one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I think that's what Pete Carroll's and the Seahawks' strength is, finding guys that are very technically good at what they do. You know, they do their job. You know, taking New England praise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think like what's funny is like DK is probably like the opposite of what they actually look for, because like if you look at like his combine, like I mean like he's a combine warrior, but like when it came down to like things like you know, shuttle and the cone drill, like he wasn't that good. Like you could his footwork needed, which was something that they're not used to drafting. I mean, it ended up turning out pretty good. It looked like he worked on a lot of stuff that he was misfiring on in the draft or the combine, but that's one of the things. Like it's kind of weird that they went against what they usually do. They went for more of like a combine warrior.
Yeah, and the safety that they grabbed was Marquise Blair from Utah. A big guy, big hitter, but he kind of teetered in and out of because that was kind of a big hole to fill with Thomas and Chancellor. So
Stuck with Delano Hill.
Absolutely. And then especially once they grabbed Quandre Diggs mid-season, he got kind of pushed to the side. So I think this is a big year to see what he can really do. Because I think he will step in that other spot. So I think this could be a pretty decent season for him. The whole secondary, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, the secondary has some potential. With Flowers and Diggs and the other Griffin brother or twin.
Yeah,
I mean,
Shaquille.
Yeah, I mean, they got talent back there. Pete Carroll always puts out a good D. Yeah, and like what you're saying about them drafting Metcalf. Because, I mean, Chayden, you know, you're saying, you know, they always draft technically sound guys, which they usually do. But I think that's why Metcalf was a perfect pick last year, because that's what they preach there. You have a top 5 quarterback in the league. And I'll debate this on any day, not today, but Russell Wilson, he's top 5, and his knowledge and what he brings as a leader, I think was perfect for Metcalf to help groom him that year one. And that's why guys like Tyler Lockett's worked out, because they thought he was just going to be a returner, maybe a number 3 or 4 receiver on your roster, but he's a number 1 in Seattle, and you want him on your fantasy team. I mean, he's scoring touchdowns, catching 7 balls,
I think it was last season, 12 touchdowns or something like that, or the year before that.
Yeah. I mean, Seattle, that's what Seattle's very good at. You can always count on them hitting on some draft picks. They make smart picks. They're very conservative, and it's just because they got a great coaching staff and great front office there. All right, let's wrap up the football talk with our early predictions here, or something crazy we think is gonna happen this season. All right, let's start with you, Chayden.
My hot take of the year is that the 2nd overall pick, Chase Young, is going to bust. We've had conversations off the screen about this, but I didn't like how he closed out the year. He didn't record a stat at Michigan. He got double the frequent amount of plays, but Jalen Mayfield held his own against him, and Jalen Mayfield is not being drafted, not being looked at yet. So I think that was a good thing to look at. I think that once he gets to being against guys like Conklin and things consistently out the year, his numbers are going to decrease from what people project they're going to be. And I think he's just going to be like an average end rusher. You're going to hear his name a couple times, going to get a Sports Center play here and there. But even throughout his career, I just don't see him. And even like the stats back me up a little bit, is only like half of the edge rushers in the first round have gone to a single Pro Bowl in their careers. So I think that Chase Young's gonna have a hard time next year and a hard time throughout his career. That is my unbelievably hot take.
I'll pick up from there. I just have one quick to add on to Chains. Who do you think is, in comparison, what do you think his ceiling is as a player, if you could compare it to somebody?
His ceiling it's high. The problem is I don't think his floor is that high. His ceiling's as high as a J.J. Watt or a Bosa brother or anything like that. Like he has the intangibles to be that way. I just don't know if his floor is going to be up to the same floor as, because if J.J. Watt's off years, he's still in the conversation for a Pro Bowl. I just don't see him as a player being that versatile as a run stuffer or a pass rusher to have that high of a floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like he's not the best run stuffer. I think he's just not built for that. You know, he's super lanky. He's not like a Bosa brother. Like a Bosa brothers, they're more stocky. I think he's a better pass rusher than the Bosa brothers, but I agree with like being more versatile, less versatile, because he's not the same run stuffer that the Bosas are.
Yeah, I sort of want to agree with you on that, Shaden. It's a hot take. Like, he has a lot of talent, but I really see him as a third down pass rusher. Like, I think he'd be very good at it, but those first two downs, I think he's gonna have a tough time playing the big boys in the NFL. I mean, he's 265. I think he needs to put on some weight. He's an animal. I mean, he's very strong. He's very lean, but you gotta have a little weight when you're stopping the run. And I just think those first two downs are going to be very tough for him. It's going to be a tough transition. I think, he might get 8.5 sacks this year, but I think he's going to have very little effect on the run game, which is going to make him a bust. And I think he's more of a Vic Beasley. He might have one good year, maybe two, but he's going to sit around 7 sacks. He's not going to be a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick up on my too early take. My take is that Baker Mayfield will win Comeback Player of the Year next year. Baker Mayfield has a lot to prove this season after a extremely disappointing season, especially with the cast that he had around him. Obviously, you can't fully blame everything on him necessarily, but especially with the addition of Austin Hooper, I think that he will thrive with that offense. Getting a whole considering he'll have an off season kind of to work with them and kind of get reacquainted, I think he will be able to pull it together solid, maybe 9-10 wins, but definitely majorly improve and win Comeback Player of the Year.
I'm not even sure that's a hot take, to be completely honest with you.
I think a hot take would have been him winning MVP would be a hot take. I think Comeback Player.
I think it's a good take.
It's an early take, but it's a solid take.
Yeah.
I think the only person that can beat Baker this year is Baker. If he wants to have a good year, that Browns team is going to be solid. If he wants to have a bad year, that Browns team is going to be Browns team of Or and play like 4 wins, 5 wins, and they're just going to be bad. So that team rests on Baker's shoulders as much as it possibly can.
I agree.
Just a quick question for you guys can each give a little input before Mike goes into his early prediction. Is a little on Baker. Last year, you can blame the coach for Baker having a bad year. Freddie Kitchens was obviously a very bad head coach. He did not deserve that role. Do we blame Baker Mayfield this year if they have a bad season or him, or do we blame Stefanski, a first-year head coach, another Baker's third NFL head coach? Are we going to blame the Browns organization, or are we going to blame Baker? Because you have 3 different offenses. I mean, it's an interesting what they got in Cleveland if they have a bad year this year.
Well, Stefanski's an offensive-minded coach. Am I right?
Yeah, but I mean, with Freddie Kitchens, that's why he became head coach, because when the Browns were doing good, Freddie Kitchens was calling plays. This is third
Yes,
head coach.
but
But I mean,
the Browns lost games because of Freddie Kitchens. Like for example, against like New England, going for a fake punt on like, or no. They took a delay game and then went for it on like
yeah,
like
yeah, 4th and 15. It's like, what are you doing?
Freddie Kitchens is a good play caller, but I agree he's not a good head coach. He doesn't know what he's doing. Savansky, he's more of like a household name, you know, compared to Freddie Kitchens. No one really knew who Freddie Kitchens was.
Mhm.
So I think it's going to be Baker who kills Baker.
Okay.
Yeah,
Danny?
I think it would be. I think Baker would take the blame if they start losing games because of the offense. Like, because now that they've made these additions on defense, and they're probably going to make, probably I can see them making more through the draft. If they're like I said, if they start losing games because their offense can't get the ball moving, then it's on Baker at that point.
I think it rests on how much Baker can develop, you know, even with the limited offseason. But we've seen that he's a good thrower and a good runner. This year is going to be if he can manage a game, and that's your best quarterbacks. Your Tom Brady's, your Russell Wilsons, your Matt Staffords. He wanting the ball in your hands late in the game, who can manage the game. And so Baker will live and die on the hill of how good of a game manager he is. And if he's a bad game manager, that doesn't rest on the coach. That rests on you as a quarterback. So I think if Baker's going to kill Baker, if he's going to do it, or Baker can make Baker be the MVP, you know, just whatever he can do.
I like I threw Matt Stafford in there.
Right. I thought he was gonna say like Drew Brees or something.
Yeah, that's how.
Well, Matt Stafford in a 2-minute drill is elite, and you can't argue the stats say that he is. You know.
No, I agree.
Yeah, Stafford's been.
He did a 2-minute drill with a broken neck.
I mean, even a 2-minute drill with him. I mean, I said it, even with Calvin Johnson, without Calvin Johnson, late in the game. I mean, there's only a couple quarterbacks out pick ahead of him.
Definitely makes it happen.
All right, Mike. Let's get to your early prediction here, or
right.
predictions we talked about before the show.
I say I have two. So this one, I don't think this one's as hot as the other one. So I'll start with this. The Bills win the AFC.
Bills win the AFC.
They win the AFC. As in the first
Bills.
seed. I'm not saying Super Bowl. I'm saying they win. They get the first
seed.
Yeah, they get
the 1 seed. Okay.
Yep.
I thought you said they go to the Super Bowl. Okay.
No, I'm not sure I'm okay with saying that yet because I want to see Josh Allen develop a little bit more. But I think he's developed enough where I think they could beat the Chiefs because I think their defense is elite. I think their offense can move the ball. I want to see them. I want to see Josh Allen just take the next step. He's done it. You know, he did it this year. I think he took 2 different steps because at the beginning of the season he was better than he was the year before, and then those last 10 games he took another step. I think he's something that everyone has to start worrying about. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback, and then their defense, as we talked about earlier, just got way better. So I think they take the AFC, the top seed in the AFC. I'm not saying Super Bowl just because when it comes down to clutch time, who are you taking? Are you taking Josh Allen? Or are you taking Lamar Jackson? Are you taking Patrick Mahomes? You know, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's a reasonably hot take. I think they're the Chiefs and the Ravens are favorites in the AFC right now. I think if you would have said they were going to the Super Bowl this year, I think that would have been a very, very outlandish take. But I think it's a possibility that any one of those 3 teams can come out on top in the AFC.
See, I think the outlandish take is them getting the 1 seed. I think it would have been an easier take to have them go to the Super Bowl because I think they could go to the Super Bowl as a 3 seed or maybe even a 4 seed at the worst. I mean, you talk about the Chiefs are getting it would have been tough with New England. I mean, they ended up losing it. But, Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes hurt. They're still able to get that 1 seed.
Oh, Matt Moore.
No. They beat out New England for the bye, and Baltimore had the 1 seed. But I think Kansas City. I mean, they beat Baltimore, and they only had 2 more wins than them. And Patrick Mahomes missed some games. I think the Ravens are going to win 13 games, 12 games. I mean, that offense is electric. Their defense got better. I mean, I expect the Ravens to be better. I think, the Bills will run in some division trouble. That'll hinder them from getting the 1 seed. But I think they can make Super Bowl.
All right, so staying in the AFC East. With Tom Brady leaving, something needs to happen. The offense isn't going to be able to carry itself. And the chances of Jarrett Stidham taking over and being just electric it's not common for a first-year quarterback just to come in and blow up. I think because of David Andrews coming back, Joe Tooney coming back, just the whole offensive line coming together, like how it should have been last year. I think Sony Michel's top 6 rusher in the NFL. In the playoffs in 2019, he had 336 yards. He had 6 touchdowns. In last year, to get in the top 6, you only needed like 1,200 yards, and the year before, you only needed a little bit over 1,000. I'm pretty confident that with the offensive line actually coming together again, and them leaning on the run because they're not going to just throw Stidham under the bus essentially. I think he has a chance to be a top 6 rusher.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I think that is a horrible take. I think that is a very horrible, not a lot of research pick there. I mean, Sony Michel is not a 3-down back. The guy couldn't catch a basketball.
No, he couldn't.
I can name off the top of my head 8 running backs that are going to get more yards than him.
Damian Harris.
Damian Harris will play more than Sony Michel. James White might have more rushing yards than Sony Michel because when Sony Michel's in the game, you knew they were running the ball because he can't catch.
Derrick Henry.
He is just – he's got about 3 more years left in the NFL, and that's being generous with the 3. I think 2 is more like it. He's running out of time. I think Bill Belichick pulled him out a few times. That guy's got about 1 or 2 more fumbles or missed blocks or misread on a wide open hole, and then he's done. It's the James White Rex Burkhead show.
Well, you also have to think about he's got a full off season. The last 2 years he's had surgery.
Did the ball change?
I think Sony Michel learns how to catch a football out of the backfield. I think the problem with New England's run game, though, and anybody you throw back there, you can throw Adrian Peterson back there. The problem with the Patriots run game next year is going to be you don't have a proven quarterback. So if I'm the Bills and Miami, if they get their back 4, and even the Jets, I'm leaving my 4 people on an island, and I'm going to load the box because you can't beat me. And when you prove to beat me, then I'll open it up. But if you can't beat me on my 4 with your average quarterback, I don't foresee Sony Michel getting that many yards with a 7-8-man box like that, or a 6-7-man box like that. So I think that's going to be their challenge more so than getting Sony Michel touches. I think it's going to be the amount of touches and the quality touches are going to be very much lower because that box is going to be loaded on New England this year. Everybody's going to.
All right, I'll move into my hot take. And this guy is going to be a generational talent. Isaiah Simmons is the best player in the 2020 NFL draft. He runs a 4.4. He can rush the passer. This guy's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Mark my words.
I don't even want to look at this.
Isaiah Simmons.
I'm taking off the headphones.
Is 6'4", 240 pounds.
How do I mute him?
Rush the passer, guard tight ends, tackle. Isaiah Simmons, you can throw him anywhere on defense. I think he's going to be a linebacker, but you can throw him at safety. But I think they're going to keep him at backer. That guards the tight end, and he's going to take that away, and he's going to make an impact day one walking into any facility, and he's going to have his jersey retired. You guys can give your thoughts.
We just could ignore this one, fellas, or
We're not allowed to say anything inappropriate, so I'll just leave it at that.
I think. Do I think he's going to be good? Yes. Do I think he's going to turn into maybe a better Tony Jefferson? More than likely. But I think that is his. I think that's where he's going to kind of end up. Maybe get a Pro Bowl. Maybe 1 year has a breakout year, but other than that, I don't think he's really going to be.
I think he's a combine warrior.
I could see him. Now, he's a player where it depends how you're going to use him.
And where he goes, I think, will also be.
And where he goes. Because he's looking like a Jabril Pepper, like a versatile, I can play wherever I want to play. And then you put those guys in bad systems and positions that they're not supposed to be in or that they're not able to play in, and then they look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think if you don't play Simmons in the right way, you don't put him. I think he's more of a safety, or maybe more of a backer, not a safety, or depending on what he looks like, fit build wise coming out in the draft, you got to play him by that. But I think that he's going to be limited by the program that he's in, and he's going to be limited by the position that program puts him in. If you use him primarily as a safety, he's going to be average. Use him primarily as a linebacker, he's going to be average. So it kind of just depends, what bullet you want to bite with that one. But I foresee him being an average player, having a decently long career, and then hanging it up,
Yeah, because I don't think by any means do I not think he's bad. I don't think he's a bad player at all. He had a great career at Clemson, and like Shayla said, I think he will kind of be a middle average to above average player to wherever he ends up. I think he'll probably shift around teams a little bit, but I think that's about it.
Well, true. Compare him to.
I think he reminds me of a Troy Polamalu, Cam Chancellor mix that has the ability you can think it's outlandish, but the way Troy Polamalu could jump the snap, he got sacks, he could tackle, he could cover. I think Isaiah Simmons is the same way. I mean, Troy Polamalu is a very stocky player. Simmons is a lot bigger than him, and they're about the same weight. I think they're roughly the same speed. And he's built like Chancellor, and he runs a 4.4. He showed that he can cover slot college receivers, which he's not going to do in the NFL, but he can guard the tight ends because he's 6'4". He did good in the shuttle, so that shows his lateral movements. I mean, his ability to turn the corner, I just think he has a Polamalu aspect with, you said, a Cam Chancellor body. I mean, the dude's 6'4", and he runs a 4.4, and he played linebacker for the majority of his career.
If they let him play like Polamalu did, where Polamalu ran the show and did what he wanted to do, he'll be fine. I just don't foresee many coaches allowing him to be a Polamalu, because Polamalu was when's the last time you see a player play like Polamalu ever?
Well, that's why my take's hot, is I think Isaiah Simmons is that guy. He's that next one.
Well, so would you say he's the next Troy Polamalu?
I would say he is the next better version of Troy Polamalu.
Oh,
all right. We got the clip. For Twitter. What was I about to say? Oh yeah. So the thing with Simmons is, if they're gonna let him walk around like Troy Polamalu, he's gonna be on such a bad team that he's just gonna look bad. So it doesn't even matter.
All right. Let's shift gears here, boys, all right, guys. So this is gonna wrap up our first episode here for No B.S. Sports. We will be back. We will hopefully be better. So this is Chewy telling you guys go follow us. Damon will give you guys the @. But it was nice talking to you guys.
Yo, so on Twitter, our @ is Bum Squad Sports. Once again, that's Bum Squad Sports. And then on Instagram, it is No B.S. _sports. No B.S. _sports. There'll be constant content, clips from our favorite clips from our podcast here, and some other flyers and some special takes from some folks that you'll see later down the line. So, check us out.
Thanks. Comment. Let us know what you like. Leave us some questions. Hit us up.
All right, we're good.
All right. And then we can, on the YouTube video, we can drop the links to like the Twitter and the Instagram.
Oh yeah.
And
The link to the YouTube is in the bio.
I was gonna say, I don't know how to edit it.